Hey everyone, welcome to He's Not Wrong. I'm your host, Chad D. And listen, it is not lost on me that this is my third episode within a week. And let me tell you, it is hard, but I love it. I love this thing that we have going on with He's Not Wrong. But before I get too deep into this episode, I want to take a minute and ask if you will do me a favor. I would very much appreciate if you would stop whatever it is that you're doing right now and leave a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. The importance of reviews cannot be stated enough. It would help me out so much. I would be so appreciative. If you have already left one, thank you. If you're about to, thank you. If you're considering it, I hope you do. That's all I'm going to say on that. Let's keep it moving. So as most of you know, and if you don't, you probably live under a rock, but it is Pride Month. And I have an episode that I'm planning later in this month that's on the topic of Pride Month. And for those listening and not watching, my co-host that almost died 2 weeks ago and cost me $2,400 gray just jumped up into my lap. So I hope you're enjoying him if you're watching on YouTube. But like I said, I'm planning on doing a Pride episode later this month. But it's not Pride Month without talking about Chick-fil-A. You're probably raising an eyebrow right now. I know the boycott for Chick-fil-A is real, and the programs that they donate to are absolutely unethical and they're problematic. But damn, have y'all had their coffee? It is top tier. It never misses. With Starbucks, sometimes it tastes burnt, sometimes it tastes like battery acid, but Chick-fil-A, never a miss. Always a win. I do not eat there, but I will buy a coffee from there if I'm on the road and I'm desperate in Gray's back. Apologies. I need to know their secret to their bean and brew because whatever that formula is, it works. You know, another never miss coffee? McDonald's. Every time. I will not buy their coffee grounds from the store because I can never brew it like they do in the restaurants. It's as close to perfect as anyone will get on anything ever. So my rankings for drive-thru coffee are as follows. 1, McDonald's. 2nd, very close to 1, Chick-fil-A. Number 3, everything else. So I have coffee on the mind. I need caffeine. I'm exhausted. And while I'm talking about exhaustion, I want to switch gears right now. Mentally, y'all, this past week, I've been feeling it, and I don't know what it was. Am I doing too much? Why does my body feel like this? What is happening? So, in full honesty, work has been insane. Life has not slowed down, and I think that my mental health took a toll this past week or two. If I'm anything, I'm honest because I cannot hide my low energy vibes from anyone. And this past Sunday and Monday, I just needed a rest day and to not leave my bed. And that is absolutely what I did. And then, you know what? I got out of bed. I got back to work. I got up. We're back at it. And now you have this episode later in the week, due part to that rest day that I forced myself to take. Those are important. If you haven't been giving yourself a rest day, then what are you doing? You need to get with the program and rest those eyes and rest that mind. You aren't going to be good at anything or everything in this world if you aren't being good to yourself first. So take that nap, mute that phone, binge that show, whatever a rest day looks like to you. Take this as me giving you permission to give it to yourself. I'm going to switch gears here again. We're just kind of all over the place today. I've talked about it before, and it's my love of TikTok because it is just deep, deep, deep. My love is off the walls. I think that about 1 billion other people can say the same exact thing. So my love of TikTok is not unique. But it's a sentiment that I think people can relate to because TikTok truly is God's gift to mankind. Those comment sections, they can't be beat. I will have sat in my apartment alone after a full day of working remotely and scream laugh until I cry. Not from the TikTok themselves, but at the comment section. People are funny. I like to play a little game with myself and I try to guess what the top few comments will say before opening the comment section up. And what they say is true. No one has ever had a unique experience, and that's confirmed when there's a comment stating what I thought was unique in my mind, and it has 80,000 likes and comments, all from people agreeing. It's a community, and I absolutely love it. But with the good, obviously, comes the bad. And as I stated, or as I started my TikTok for the He's Not Wrong podcast back in March, I have been trying to organically grow it as any podcast host would. Or anyone, starting a brand or a business. It all comes with risks that you have to accept when you say yes to whatever adventure you're about to embark on. And one of those risks with being on the internet and starting an online brand and presence, it's nasty and hateful comments that people leave. Not even about yourself, but about other people. Like, people will take to your comment section on your content to be nasty about other people. And it's really freaky how emboldened people are with hiding behind a screen. And I think hiding behind a screen makes people feel like they can get away with whatever they want. And technically, I guess that is true given like the Constitution, and rights and blah, blah, blah. But morally and ethically, it doesn't make it right. And I bring this up because I talked about Savannah Chrisley. Excuse me, I got the sniffles. I talked about Savannah Chrisley in my last podcast episode. I talked about her and issues that I have with her words and the approach to the pardon that she took. And I also stated that I hope that Julie and Todd can take what they have learned and seen in prison and make a difference having this new perspective in life. What I didn't talk about were any minors or children in their family, and yet people felt empowered to bring them into it and make nasty racist remarks and also sexual comments about Savannah. And as I said on TikTok already, I want to officially say it on the podcast, but I will filter comments if those comments are about minors or sexually degrading about women. If you support women, you support all women, and making sexual comments about any woman sets the entire movement back. So I will not stand for that, and minors have no way of defending themselves, so don't bring them into a situation where they're not a part of the subject matter at hand. I can have strong opinions about not liking people, but it doesn't mean that I support or will allow nasty things to be said on my social media about them. Believe it or not, I do actually have a line, and it's a boundary that I'm not willing to cross. And I'll also say this, I support all women, and that includes trans women. I want to say that it is Pride Month. It's important to state because you cannot pick and choose who you support. So even when there are women who go against what is in their best interest for their own community, I still choose to support everyone, because when you choose to support all women, you support all women. Like I said, you don't get to pick and choose. So I want to keep the topic of Savannah, I want to keep on that topic for another minute, because she seems to be really doubling down over the past few days on not paying for her pardon and working hard for one. So I want to revisit that, and I want to talk about privilege once again. To have money and to have the time to take off work, to fly to DC on a whim, to buy last minute plane tickets, that is a privilege. It's a privilege because it's something that the majority of Americans don't have access to. No one is saying that Savannah didn't work hard, but she had the opportunity to put herself in rooms with people who were decision makers. She had the opportunity to put in that work because of who she is. Personally, I just want her to recognize that and stop doubling down and just accept the fact that you had access to these people due to your influence, your platform, and your status in society. Frankly, there's nothing wrong with that. Honestly, I would respect you if you came out and you said exactly that, and then went on to say that due to this privilege that you'll use it to lift up other people, and then talk about that plan and to lay it out in front of everyone. Listen, I think Kim Kardashian is as problematic as they get, but you cannot deny that she used her platform and privilege for good when it came to prison reform, because she recognized the power that her status in life holds. Savannah should probably have taken note out of her playbook. One of the things that Kim K did was that she used and respected the office of the president. Kim's work transcended politics because she knew that the office of the president was who she was trying to get on board with her work. And then her work would be able to go beyond whoever was in office at that moment in time. Savannah's fatal flaw in all of this is worshiping Trump and tying herself to him. And as she said, no matter what, she'll stand beside him. That work won't be able to transcend the political climate of this time. She did a lot right to get to where they got last week with that pardon. But she also did a lot wrong in the messaging and in her approach. And I think the shelf life of the movement that she was starting to cultivate will be shorter due to the political strategies that she decided to utilize. Let's take a break. So I want to get right into headlines because there are several that I want to talk about. And the first headline comes to us from the New York Times. According to the New York Times, a recent report from them said that Elon Musk was allegedly under the influence of some pretty serious substances throughout the entirety of Trump's campaign. And I want to call out that ketamine was one of the drugs that he was allegedly abusing. And I want to say that I know ketamine is a drug that under the right circumstances, being tight and highly regulated, it can actually affect your mental state, and it can improve people's depression. But Elon wasn't using it because he was depressed. Now, this report isn't just political fodder or drama because what they're alleging, it matters, especially when you consider how much influence Elon had over Trump's decisions and policy direction during that time period. People who are under the influence of drugs do not have the same coherent thought processes and judgments that someone should have while sober. And at that, especially at that level of government, we're talking about major conversations and decisions around government spending, human rights, immigration, tech regulation, and even to Elon's benefit, space policy, all guided by a guy who, if these allegations are true, was not in the clearest state of mind to be making decisions on these things that would impact hundreds of millions of lives. And yet, all that I'm seeing online are Republicans still being obsessed with Hunter Biden's personal struggles, pretending to care about accountability while ignoring the glaring double standard. The fact of the matter is Joe Biden wasn't going to Hunter for policy decisions. Hunter, Joe, and Jill weren't covering up his drug problem. They were open and they were honest about it. They were driving the conversation forward in a way that was impactful, and it urged people with addiction to get help. They attempted to normalize the conversation around addiction in an effort to make people feel less alone and more willing to talk about their struggles in hopes of getting help. And then you have Republicans really just layering on the shame and totally removing any progress that's been made on that topic, and then absolutely denying Elon's alleged use and abuse. I even caught glimpses from far-right news media outlets talking down his use and saying that it was just recreational. That's how you know this report isn't just alleged, but rather verified fact, because when the right side starts playing down talks of drug use, then you know they know Elon is guilty because they can't defend it. They know that they are in the wrong, but they will never admit that. The entire situation with the report from the New York Times, it raises serious questions like, who is Trump surrounding himself with? How much influence do these people really have? And how are they using that influence to shape a system that benefits them and not the rest of us? But by all means, to everyone in my comment section on TikTok, go ahead and keep yelling about Hunter Biden while the guy leading and implementing actual policy decisions wouldn't be able to pass a field sobriety test while driving one of his own Teslas. But in all seriousness, we should be even more concerned than we were. I have a cat hair in my mouth. Excuse me. But in all seriousness, we should be even more concerned than we were before about who is calling the shots in DC. because I will not allow for comparisons of Elon to Hunter Biden because they simply are not equivalent. And I will not even enter a conversation and discussion as to how they are. So another headline that I have for you that I saw this week is Trump partnering with Palantir to compile data on American citizens. And I cannot even comprehend how this one is defendable. Coming straight from the so-called party of small government, the sweeping effort was announced by Trump and his team that they will begin compiling vast amount of data on American citizens using the tech company Palantir through a nearly $1 billion in contracts awarded since the end of January. According to an executive order from March, the Trump administration began working to enable data sharing on American citizens across federal agencies, partnering with Palantir to bring Trump's and Elon's surveillance vision to life. And first off, this should be concern to all of you. The Trump administration collected data on immigrant students through their social media accounts and began deporting them without due process. And now that they're planning this massive data collection on U.S. citizens for reasons that remain unclear, but given the administration's policy and track record, we can make some educated guesses about where this is headed. I am rarely shocked anymore, but I am genuinely stunned that the same people who claimed that they wanted to drain the swamp and cut wasteful government spending and shrink the size of government are now the people backing this massive civilian surveillance push. I don't know, but it's given 1930s Germany. And as of today, there have been articles published about how certain MAGA followers feel like Trump has flipped and turned on them. At a loss for words, I never thought that I would ever be saying that MAGA would be saying that Trump flipped on them. But to that I say, this is the straw that broke your back. I mean, whatever it takes for y'all to realize what is going on, good. Let this be it. But this is the issue. Trump and Elon have not been silent about their desires to somehow compile sensitive data on American citizens. That's not a secret. This goes a step beyond because the government already has access to sensitive data, obviously, but this takes it a step further by giving it to a private company and then disseminating it out to all federal agencies. And at this point, I would just rather China and ByteDance do with what they want with my data more than Trump, Elon, and Peter, what is his name? Peter Thiel. Am I pronouncing that correctly? I'd rather have China and ByteDance use my data than Trump, Elon, and Peter. But certain companies have been gnawing at the bit to get a hold of our data from the very beginning of the Trump administration. First, we saw it with the IRS and Social Security information with Elon, and now we're seeing it with private data and Palantir. And I want to say this, at least when the Patriot Act was put into place years and years ago, there was a catalyst that showed a need for some level of info gathering. The legality, the ethics, the morality of it all, that can still be debated. That's mine. But what cannot be debated was that Patriot Act was born out of something. Something happened. There was a catalyst that caused the Patriot Act to be put into place. But this with Palantir, this has no basis. There's no catalyst for this. And there's no grounding. This is just a power, data, and money grab at the highest levels of government at the expense of the American people. And if they're going to use and sell my data, then at least give me a cut of that. And if this isn't about money, then I'm really worried. Because what are they gearing up to do? As I said, it's giving 1930s Germany, and this is the only vibe that I can go off of right now. But something tells me it's more about money, considering how much the Palantir stock shot up after the announcement. I think it skyrocketed something like 53%. There's just one last headline that I want to discuss, and it is heartbreaking. And it speaks volumes about the moral and ethical failings that are baked into our current immigration system, especially as shaped and hardened by Republican-led policy. It's about the possible deportation of Carol Mayorga. I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. I try to find videos with the pronunciation of it, and I'm not sure I'm doing it justice, but her name's Carol Mayorga. And if you haven't heard about her story, I want to give you a TLDR, a too long don't read on it. So Carol is a mother of three and a longtime resident of Kennett, Missouri. And she was detained by ICE after being called in for what she thought was a routine immigration check-in. And despite living in the US for over 20 years and raising US citizen children, working multiple jobs, and having very deep community ties, she now faces deportation due to a decades-old sham marriage and a denied asylum claim. Though she has been living under a supervised order with legal work authorization, the government suddenly revoked it without warning, detaining her in multiple jails, and her detention has devastated her children, especially her autistic son. And that sparked outrage in her rural community. And might I add, it's a very pro-Trump community where residents have been struggling to reconcile her treatment with the policies that they voted for. So I want to call it what it is. It's cruelty disguised as policy. Carol is not a danger. She's not a threat. She's not gaming the system. She is a system. She's a working mom holding down multiple jobs, raising U.S. citizen children, contributing to her community, and showing up with kindness, grace, and consistency every single day. And for that, her government locked her away from her kids. The moral and ethical failure here isn't just the action of her detainment, but it's also in the hypocrisy of the action. Republicans say that they're pro-family, they care about faith, work ethic, community, children, but how pro-family can you be if you're deporting mothers with citizen children? How can you claim Christian values while tearing apart families, locking up women with no criminal record, and stripping children of the only stability in life that they have ever known? This is not what people in towns like Kennett, Missouri say that they voted for. They say they wanted violent criminals gone, not neighbors, not restaurant workers and servers, not mothers of autistic children. But this is what the Republican Party, especially under Trump, has delivered: an indiscriminate, punitive immigration policy that values paperwork over people. What's happening to Carol is not some clerical oversight. It's the direct result of a system that prioritizes fear, control, and performance over justice, compassion, and community. And that's what's so ethically devastating, because this isn't happening in a vacuum. It's happening because we voted for it, or we stayed silent about it, or we bought the myth that cruelty was necessary to secure our borders. This isn't law and order. This is trauma. This is systemic neglect. This is what happens when a party obsesses over illegal immigration without ever considering why people come here or what happens when they build lives here and families and communities. So this is what I want the takeaway to be. If you're someone who says you're pro-family, but you're defending policies that rip mothers from their children and force autistic teens to navigate trauma alone and destroy social fabric of small town America, then you need to reckon with what that actually means, because this isn't border security. This isn't national safety. This is cruelty. Let's take another break. And we are back, and it is time for my favorite part of every episode. It's where I get to hear about what you are not wrong about. And we have a repeat offender this week. Sarah from Boulder, Colorado decided to share another voice memo about what she is not wrong about. So let's give her a listen.
Hey, Chad D. It's Sarah. I am not wrong about when someone shares their location with you. It needs to tell me how long is this person sharing their location with me, because twice this week, don't make it thrice, someone has shared their location with me, two different people, and it's a situation where we're like good friends, but we're not, best friends, and they share their location because we're doing something, and I'm thinking okay, they could have just dropped a pin and said, which maybe the whole thing's just weird, but it needs to tell me, are they sharing for 30 minutes? Are they sharing till the end of the day? Are they sharing indefinitely? Because then I'm in a weird place where I'm like, do I share my location back? Or do I need to not? In both situations, sorry, Sally was barking at someone at the dog park. I have shared my location back indefinitely, and then it says, it's like, this person can see your location. And I'm like, okay, now I look stupid. So why can't they just tell us so I don't have to do that and then look like, and then now I have to stop sharing my location?
Okay, Sarah, you're not wrong. They need to, we need to get this episode in front of Apple because they need to be better about that. So what Sarah's talking about, for everyone that might be an Android user or they don't use the Find My Friends functionality on the iPhone, when you share your location with people, or you go in to share your location with people, you get three options. You can share it for 5 minutes. You can share it for, like, I think an hour. You can share it for a day, or you can share it indefinitely. So when you click on one of those, if I am giving you, the listener of this podcast, my location, and I said, I'm going to share this with you for 5 minutes, that's the option that I'm going to pick. You are not told on your end that I've given it to you for 5 minutes. It just looks like I shared my location with you. On my end, I can see how long I shared it with you for. So that needs to change. You need to know how long I'm sharing my location with you. Because, Sarah, I have been in this situation as well, where someone will share their location with me for 5 minutes or just the day. I'm like, oh my God, is our friendship, our relationship progressing to the point where, like, we're sharing locations? And so then I'll, like, be thinking about it for a while, and I decide, okay, I'm going to share my location back. And then the next day comes, I go to Find My Friends just because I'm bored. I want to see what my little Sims are up to. And it says that they're not sharing their location with me, that they can see my location. So what does that mean? It means that they gave me a limited option when I gave them the unlimited option. I hate that. I hate that so much. It happens to me all the time. But what I want to take what Sarah said just a step further, and it's about sharing locations with friends who you were friends with like a long time ago, but neither of you stopped sharing your location. There's a special type of heartbreak that you feel when they stop sharing their location with you. Specifically, I'm speaking about some friends from college, specifically Abby. If you're listening to this, I hope someone sends it to her. But Abby, like, I felt so close to her after college because we had each other's locations. And then at some point she decided she was going to stop sharing it. And then at that point I'm like, well, she doesn't like me anymore. I have to stop sharing my location. And it feels like a death that you have to mourn. And I don't like that. If you share your location with me, unless like there's some horrible falling out, breakup, whatever, you need to share it with me, assuming like you're never going to stop sharing it. Like when I get to the point where I'm going to share my location with you, I am accepting that you are going to have it for the entirety of your iPhone's lifespan. And then if you get another iPhone and then whatever, the only thing that will make you not have my location is if we had a falling out, or, and honestly, might still keep it. Who knows? But really, if you switch to an Android, because iPhone users cannot share their location with Android. So that's all I have to say. Sarah, you're not wrong. They need to really work on that notification system because it's absolutely disgusting what it's doing to people. I don't like what it's done to me, and it needs to change. That's my thought on that. And with that, that's today's episode. Sarah, thank you for sending in another voice message about what you're not wrong about. If you, the listener, wants to, send me a voice message, I need a vamp for a minute while I get this phone number up. It's kind of been a B storyline that like I don't know my own phone number to my podcast. But if you want to call in and leave me a voice message about what you're not wrong about, you can call 205-538-3202. That's 205-538-3202. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll see that I closed my eyes. Like I just memorized it in that moment. We'll see if it sticks for the next episode. Call that number, 205-538-3202, and tell me about what you're not wrong about. I want to hear it. What hill are you willing to die on because you know you're that right? Or you can, go to my Instagram. That's He's Not Wrong Podcast. And you can just DM me a voice message. And that works too. Whatever way. We're versatile here on this podcast. We have options. Whatever option you prefer, I'm willing to receive your voice message from. So be sure to send me the voice messages. And then, like I said at the top of the episode, I'm going to end with also, please be sure to go rate and review this podcast on Apple and Spotify. Your reviews, it does more for this podcast than you would ever know. So I would greatly appreciate it if you just took like a minute out of your day and you would to leave a review. And with that, I will see you this upcoming Sunday.